Be ready. Start. It is admitted case of the parties that on first occasion the applicant had reported for duty on 29/7/1987, but he was allowed to resume his duties only on 28/6/1988. Similarly, on the second occasion, the applicant was not allowed to join his duties on 7/7/1989 in spite of the fact that he had submitted the joining report. He was ultimately permitted to resume his duties on 30/1/1992. The applicant was on medical leave up to 6/7/1989 and that he had submitted his joining report on 7/7/1989. Of course, absence from duty without proper sanction of leave may amount to a serious misconduct, particularly when the absence is quite wrong. In this particular case, the university was at liberty to take disciplinary action against the applicant for his alleged unauthorized absence from duty and by way of punishment could have withheld his salary for the period of his absence or even for the period subsequent thereto when he had reported for duty. However, in this particular case, the University of Delhi has not taken any disciplinary action against the applicant, but at the same time, it has not paid his salary for the period as claimed by him except for 41 days, that is 17/6/1988 to 26/6/1988. It is not even the case of the university that the applicant was pretending some sickness or that he was not really sick. Thus, if the university had not permitted the applicant to resume his duties, he cannot be blamed for the same, and the university cannot withhold the salary of the applicant after the date he reported for duties. The applicant is therefore entitled to an amount of rupees 63,500 rupees less salary for 41 days which has been paid to the applicant after filing of this claim. In support of the present petition, Learned Counsel for the petitioner has reiterated its submission before the Labour Court by drawing my attention to the two memorandums dated 10/5/1989 and 9/8/1989 issued to the respondent number 2. He submits that the said respondent was habitually absent from duty without seeking requisite permission from the petitioner. In fact, in the light of the respondent number two's claim that he was taking such leaves owing to medical reasons, the petitioner had even directed him to appear for a medical examination to ascertain the veracity of his claim, but the respondent failed to report for the same. He further contends that once the respondent number 2 had, without any demur, accepted his salary for the period of 41 days during which he had discharged duties, he was stopped from raising any claim of this nature for the remaining period. He submits that the Labour Court, instead of appreciating the fact that despite his repeated absence from duty, the petitioner had not taken any disciplinary action against him, has allowed the respondent's claim by directing payment of salary for the periods during which he did not discharge his duties. He therefore prays that the impugned award be set aside. Per contra, Learned Counsel for the respondent number 2, while supporting the impugned award, submits that the respondent number two's cross examination clearly records that he had promptly reported for medical examination in compliance with the memorandum dated 10/5/1989. She therefore submits that the petitioner's contention that the respondent number 2 had not complied with the aforesaid direction under the memorandum dated 10/5/1989 is incorrect. She further submits that once the respondent number 2 continued to be in the petitioner's employment, he could not be denied wages for the period when, despite his willingness, he was not permitted to discharge duty by the petitioner. She submits that the Labour Court was fully justified in directing the petitioner to pay wages to the respondent number 2 for these periods, and therefore prays that the present petition be dismissed. From a perusal of the record and the submissions made at the bar, it is evident that it is the petitioner's own case that, notwithstanding the fact that the respondent number 2 had reported for duty on 29/7/1987, the petitioner had not permitted him to rejoin service till 29/6/1988. It is also admitted that during the said period, the respondent number 2 continued to be in the petitioner's service, was never issued any order prohibiting from discharging duties, was not suspended from service, was never subject to any disciplinary action for his absence during the said period, which he claimed was because of his medical problems. Similar is the position qua the subsequent period between 7/7/1989 till 29/1/1992. I am therefore unable to accept the petitioner's plea that despite the willingness of the respondent number 2 to discharge duties, the withholding of his wages for the aforesaid periods was justified, as the petitioner was awaiting appropriate orders from the competent authority. I also do not find any merit in the petitioner's contention that the respondent number 2, having accepted salary for the period of 41 days during which he had discharged duties, was now stopped from raising this claim for the simple reason that it is the petitioner's admitted case that the payment of wages for 41 days was made to the respondent number 2 only after the claim petition had been filed and the matter was pending adjudication before the labor court. Rather, I find that the payment of wages for this period has been duly accounted for in the directions made under the impugned award. Thank you.